So the problem, what problem do we solve? We solve the problem of regular process workers looking at process data as represented by event logs. So it's an analytical application. And what I'm going to show you today at the beginning here is, I don't know if, how many of you are familiar with, but once a year for the past 3 years has been a business process intelligence challenge. Where, so I think Vanderall started this with, they wanted a public data set that people could work on and they could show off process mining. So, whoop. Oh, that's me. Oh, okay. My screen went dead. So, so what we did, what we have here is we have that, it's a Volvo, it's a Volvo IT incident management set of log files. So it's publicly available. And so we took that and in order to showcase the approach. Now, I should tell you, because I'm going to make it look pretty simple, and you're going to think we cheated, but I have to tell you that there were a dozen papers submitted last year. This was in Beijing, on 6 from consultants, 6 from academics, and looking at, and these papers were from like 20 to 50 pages long. What can we tell from these log files? Now, the user really had just 4 simple questions. And I will say publicly, I read those papers. I didn't see any answers to these 4 simple questions. And then, and maybe more telling, when you looked at the tools people used, you know, they used R, they used Python. Of course, Flexicon provided free samples of their process mining tool. They used, did I say R, Eclipse. There was a whole set of tools that people used to try to get at this process, and you were given very little information about it. Just a, you know, sort of sketchy, it was kind of sketchy, but just a sketch of the you know, of what the fields meant, and they were pretty simple. Yes, they were in XES, but they were very simple log files. They were, you know, they had a timestamp of when the event started and the case number and you know, the impact. Well, actually the data is here, so it's oh, where are my glasses? So it had these case attributes, right? Case completion type, case type, impact, the products, the requesting organization. And they had, you know, these other attributes. Now, so our design goal is to present a process worker with an easy-to-use analytical tool. Now, I'm going to get to it in a minute. It's got some sophistication to it in terms of the statistical algorithms that it makes available. Now, when we do the Volvo analysis, we're not going to really use those tools because it's not really required. But so we're not trying to get the answer in a way. So our goal is to set up an environment where a subject matter expert, you know, a process worker, recognizes their world and can ask the kind of questions that they want to ask. So I think that's the reason that this wound up being fairly easy to do in ProSite. So so I have actually 3 different instances running, so I'm not having to pick out too many things here. But the one thing I want to show you is this. These numbers, A2, A3, these are actually what they call their teams. I don't know where they came from. But and when you look at, you think that's bad. Those are the functional divisions they're in. And then this is what they call them. D2BE is that's in Belgium, and D2 somehow they're related, but they don't tell you how they're related. And actually, we gave this is a synthetic label that we gave it because we recognize that it's probably going to be important to understand what countries these teams are in. It turns out it is. And then also, we said, well, geez, is there some these people who are D2, we know is the first line, because if you're a second line, you have a little thing that says second line. And so, we thought, well, hierarchy is important. And then we fed that back to when we pre-processed the data. We said, well, because one of their questions was, well, we think people are abusing what they call push to front. They want the work to be done in the front. They don't want it, shipped off to the second line. So when we pre-processed the data, and all the 12 other folks who looked at it, everyone pre-processed it in some way. And so we looked at it and said, well, we can tell when something is going from one level to another because we know we know the level of the team that's handling the case at that time in that event. So in short, we pre-processed the data. We had these events, and then we created case files from the event log file. So we have both of these existing here. And so the first question they had was this question of push to front. And so I wish I had an assistant, running here, but I don't. I've already done it. No, I haven't. So let me give a brief. So over in the panel that I was just fooling with, we have a pretty simple. There's a time perspective. I'll get to that. You can take a case perspective, an event perspective. And then you saw that hierarchy, and then you can also condition a query on a measure. Now, it's going to look like cheating here, but we didn't actually. The truth of the matter is, we didn't really know what was going to be important. We just sort of came up with everything that we could think was important. And so I want case measures. So I have these measures. I'm going to condition the data, and I'm going to say, all right. I want, oops, that's not what I want. See where I say, so up-level handover. So we realized that, well, there's really 9 flavors of handovers. There's handovers that go laterally, there's handovers that go up, and there's handovers that go down. So again, we built this for for somebody to use on an everyday basis who lives in this world. Oh, I should say, this is 5,000 people. This is 5,000 individuals who work on, incident management, the IT department of Volvo. So there's a lot of folks here, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of inefficiency. But so we're going to just say up-level handovers, right? Because all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to answer the question, push to front mechanism. Well, that's what you, so I said, or that's what you want to know? Okay, well, we'll answer that for you. So, oh, no. Oh, I'm pained. I'm in the wrong, I got my versions lined up here, and, well, all right, here it's going to go. I wondered why they didn't pop up. All right, so now I'm going to load the data. So what I did is I said, just show me cases where the events, there's more than 2 up-level handovers. Because I'm going back to, this is the question, this was, of their 4 questions, this was their number 1. And I think, it's a sort of telling thing. People care. I mean, here they got this process, and, we'll talk about its flow in a minute. There is none. And they basically, they want to know, who do I shoot? Come on, it's a kind of, it's too bad, but it's human nature, And so, you know, I guess we're gonna sell them arms here, and so now I'm going to stratify this by product. All right. Now, well, let me get the answer first. So I see product 87, and then, by the way, this is all they gave us. You know, this could be really cool if we knew anything about the products or anything really about how they're organized. I don't know what 87 is. I'm sure it belongs to some other grouping, but you know, this is as it is. So we had. So now we can see, obviously, the offender, if it is an offender, is 87, and then so I'm just going to flip to this view, and I don't know what I was doing there, and so now I have now I'm going to take an event view, and I'm going to stratify by my handover sender and my handover receiver. Now, again, I'm going to skip the charts. I don't really care. I know in this case I don't care about the charts. And there I've got my chart. So I now so here I have. You know, so I filtered it down. I said, okay, I want to, you know, who are the offenders of up-level handovers, and then I look in the tool and I say, all right, well, I have senders and receivers. Ironically, it's the Belgians who are the offenders, and this comes out of there's a Belgian it covers worldwide, but whatever their IT managers in Belgium, and I got to tell you, they're the only offenders, but the so we can easily, so we say click, you know, so you can see how easy it is for them, or, you know, any process worker to understand what's happening with handovers. And I could, you know, I've got 9 levels of them. I can go laterally, up, down, you know, whatever. Now, I don't, you know, okay. So now, their second question was ping pong behavior. So we go back here, you might have noticed in here, we have a measure, ping pong. So one thing we did, we wrote an algorithm to basically measure ping pongs. It's actually kind of not as easy as you might think, but, and we don't know if the algorithm's perfect or not, but you know, again, the environment we're setting up here is the idea is, okay, if this is important, and they're going to manage this process, 5,000 people, it's important, you know, and they want to look at ping pongs, okay, well, you know, okay, we put it in there. And so we're trying to give them a tool you know, just a process manager could use, you know, all the time. So so did I measure ping pongs yet? Oh, yeah, sure. Ping pongs are the notion that, and actually it was in the data that actually it's in here. Well, no, yes. You see where D5 has 26 instances where they handed off to D4. Do you see that? So then, if you look, N26 had 27 instances, they went to D4, and then, but then D4 also went to D5, and then did D5, yes, so D5 came back to D4. You see that sort of, it's that I hand off to you, ping pong comes back to me, and you know, you know, maybe Mark can explain, but it's a Belgian thing, you know. Yeah. So we did have in there ping pongs. This is not going to be very exciting because I've already showed you the answer. You know, so we load the data, and again what'd they do? Shoot, I'm mixing up my the things that I'm, anyway, so if I, no, I'll do it. So ping pongs, I get 2 of them, and I load the data, and I stratify by product. And it's going to come up 87, same. So, and so if I was really, with more time, and again, if I'm a worker or manager of this process, I got plenty of time to look at this sort of stuff. And then the third thing they want to know about was weight user, which is a, so they felt that they were, people were abusing these categories. These stages. So if I look at oh, I'm down. That's where there's my problem. So event status. So this is their process, if you will, and I'm going to expand this here. I said a few minutes ago, I said, well, there is no process, because when we looked at this, and I think this is where all the process mining people got confused, because because when you study this, the classifications are done by the users, and they appear to be arbitrary. So yes, some people say, well, I'm waiting for the user, and we wound up, as I said, from what we could tell, it's random and of no value, other than, maybe down the road you want to sort of establish some process, you want to audit people to see if they're actually doing what they say they're doing, but that's a, But for now, there's really no flow. It's events can start in any position and they can end in any position other than they have to, declare solved or resolved. So, again, they wanted to know weight user, and so we can, we can select weight user, and then we can go in and get the data, and, I could do that, but I'm not sure. I want to get to sort of the more interesting stuff. So, really, it probably took me more than 5 minutes. Where am I on time? How much time do I have?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. Oh, so I will skip it, but the. So there's, all right, so I really haven't gotten to the cool stuff here, which is, in this tool, you have, let me do some, so let me remove, I'm going to clear that. I've got this pre-selected set of products. It's basically 20% of the products represent 80% of the cases. So I loaded, I removed the date range, which I had in for a reason, which I'm going to show you, and then I want to show you what the data set we're looking at is. So now I'm going to stratify this by time. I'm going to do it by start date, and then it asks me, okay, by date, I'm just doing this for. So this is the data set that they produced, which is, another indication to me that they're not really thinking about process, because they gave us a snapshot of process data. So, to me, what a process guy wants is, we want it over time, because there's a lot of information in terms of how it's behaving over time. But it also distorts it distorts the analysis. So if you said, well, all right, if I just look at I'll look at case duration and and that's what it looks like. My God, they're improving. I mean, look at that. The average case is, and that's simply a function of, a selection bias. They basically they took a snapshot of cases by their ending date. And so the point I'm making here is that if you're, we're trying to help people do a good, easy, fast analysis of process data. So one of the first things you'd have to do with this set is understanding that you have to take these long-running cases that are distorting any conclusion. You have to take them out of the picture. So now I'm going to come back. I've taken them out. And now I want to go back to show you. So now I have, I'm just going to do, all right. So now I'm doing this for another reason. So do you see over on the right where it says process management? So one of the things we do is, and one of the things we absolutely love about log files preserve distributions, and you can't do much with statistical process control without distributions. But log files, you can get a hold of them. They have the distributions in them, and so they're useful. So the second thing we've done is we've tried to error-proof the analysis. So what happened was, when I went from, I picked case duration, the tool said, well, there's really only 3 functions that make any sense. And because I didn't show it to you, but when you picked a case, all you can do with cases is you can count them. But so I have 3 functions, and so then I said, I want to look at a distribution of duration, but now I want to look at it over time. And so what happened was I got a process management chart. So for those of you who know statistical process control, underneath the covers we are choosing. Now this chart is going to mean nothing because I have no flow. I've got a snapshot, but I'm just using it to illustrate that I did not have. There are various flavors of statistical process. There's C, P, U, individuals, X bar. In our case, X bar S. And you don't have to know which of those charts. All you have to do is, you got to have a little bit of understanding of the theory of variation, and you need a little bit of ability to kind of look at charts and understand, and then think about it. What does it mean that something doesn't vary, does vary? It's quite simple. So and if you saw that little guy flipping when I called up this chart, that's because in there we're bootstrapping some of the control charts because we realize in process data you very quickly get down to very small subsets, and you got to use whatever you got. This is not, you don't really have the luxury of picking and choosing. So it's sometimes when you get down to these small data sets, you have to bootstrap the control chart. Now, the point is that if you tried to do, so we've tried to make it easy for regular folks to look at process data and analyze it properly. And so if I were to so here, now I switched to, now I've got case duration. I said, well, I want to look across a group. So and so now we say, well, there's really only 2 ways that make sense to look across a group. So what's that? That's analysis of variance, but it's a very simple chart to read. Although I have this one up here for a reason. It's it's like a Christmas tree. But that's a fairly sophisticated analysis, but it's easy to read. It just says the green is which product you're looking at. It says that anything that's blue, it's statistically the same as. Anything that's red, it's different from. That's Tukey's HSD right there. Analysis of variance, easy. You didn't have to know about it. It just automatically was presented to you. Now, I could go further on, and I guess I'll end with just one comment. My talk is titled Process Intelligence minus Analytical Relativism. So what do I mean by analytical relativism? So what I mean by that is that most of the time, business intelligence is sold this way. I hate to say, I think process mining is sold this way. And it's what I mean sold this way, the idea is a sort of seductive one put in front of the user that says, look, if you see a signal, if you think you understand how that's working, well, therefore that is how it's working. But there's 100 years of history in these tools, and people have worked this out. It's well understood how to properly analyze process data. And all we're trying to do is put these tools, take the data, you got to put it in an environment where it makes sense to people, and then error-proof it so that they can look at it. So what I mean by analytical relativism is that people see signals in the data. It's said that if I see a signal, then it must exist. And I guess I'm an analytical universalist, which says, no, there are well understood ways to separate signals from noise. And when you start to step through this, I've underestimated and misestimated my time, sort of magical things come out of this, because then you can understand how this process is working. And just to make the final point, I mean, what we would find in here is that if you don't separate impact level, so that you can tell that the organization deals with low-level impact cases differently than medium impact. That's not surprising, but you see it in the data. So you have to separate, when you look at the data, when you look at groups' behavior, you have to separate that out. So I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.